Brawl Stars. It's a pretty fun game that is constantly being updated, and most of the time these updates are well received, even if it's not the best. But the Brawl Stars team is not perfect and certainly not immune to criticism. From removing beloved features to making greedy decisions, here are the most controversial updates in Brawl Stars history.
Let's do this.
The removal of boxes. Okay, let me get something out of the way. I don't really have a favorite here. I mean, I stopped playing Brawl Stars for like 3 years, so what the hell would I know? There are pros and cons to both star drops and boxes, and we could go on and on about which one is better. But we're not doing that. We're going to focus on what exactly happened. So boxes were in the game since the game's beta launch. You could collect tokens from playing, and when you have enough, you open the box, kind of like a chest from Clash Royale. You open it, and there's a bunch of gold, gems, brawlers, everything. However, over time, players wanted something new that was more predictable, rewarding, and fair. And there was also a bit of controversy with loot boxes in games. So in December 2022, the Brawl Stars team decided to remove boxes from the game and instead scatter the rewards you would have got in other features. On top of that, they also introduced a new Star Road where you collect credits by simply playing, and in doing so, you could unlock new brawlers without having to get lucky from a box. Overall, the update was well received, and I think it's good, but eventually players were starting to crave something that was missing from the game: boxes. I'm not even kidding. Basically, every criticism of this update was the fact that boxes were gone and there was no exciting surprises anymore. Boxes were part of Brawl Stars' identity and a part of many memories and nostalgia. So then, they added Star Drops in June 2023, which was basically Chess 2.0 with better rewards but less pizzazz. However, a big portion of the community didn't even want Star Drops because they felt the team had gone full circle with boxes. As you can see, it's a little complicated. The community has been divided in terms of who prefers boxes over star drops and vice versa. One thing is for sure though, it was definitely controversial and we're still hearing discussions whether the removal of boxes was a good thing for the game or not. What do you guys think? Leon. We won't be talking about any other brawler in this list, but I felt that Leon was definitely worth a mention. Released in December 2018, just in time for global launch, it would be an understatement to say that Leon was OP. I mean, OP brawlers are released all the time, but Leon's case was unique because of the timing, rarity, price, and the fact that something like this has never really happened before. I won't be explaining why and what made Leon OP. Most people have already heard that story already, and I did go into full detail recently in one of my other videos, but the most important thing to know is that Leon was the first legendary brawler in over a year. He was very strong and everyone wanted him. However, at the time, legendaries were stupidly impossible to unlock. Or at least that's how it felt. So your only other option was to buy a crap ton of boxes and hope that you get them. But fear of missing out wasn't the issue. It's not like a new brawler being rare was anything new. It was the fact that Leon was the best brawler you could have had at the time, and the process to get it felt rigged from the beginning. Players felt that this new brawler was intentionally made OP and incredibly rare to get so that players would be tempted to buy boxes and boost the revenue numbers of the game's global launch. It also didn't help that shortly after players dropped boatloads of money on boxes, they released offers to just buy Leon with gems. But the shenanigans didn't end there. They had already nerfed Leon just 2 days after being added to the game. And then multiple nerfs within the next 2 months that basically made him suck ass. I mean, they went hard with the nerfs. And like I said, something like this had never really occurred in Brawl Stars history, so people were upset. I mean, we had OP brawlers, of course, and expensive offers, but nothing like Leon's launch prior to it. Unfortunately, history would repeat itself. It looked like this formula was selling like hotcakes. But by the time they had done it the second and third and fourth time, people already knew what to expect from Supercell. That's what made Leon's launch so controversial, is the fact that it caught everyone by surprise and it felt very planned. The switch from portrait to landscape. Yeah, we're gonna be talking about some prehistoric stuff. So as you may know, Brawl Stars used to be played in the portrait orientation, and players actually loved the fact that it was like this. Chatting with your friends was easier, the movement and aiming was different but fun, and not having to rotate your phone every time you just wanted to hop into a quick match was pretty casual. It may seem odd looking at gameplay like this, but anyone who was playing back then in those days will tell you that you just had to be there to know how great it felt. However, in 2018, when Supercell was re-evaluating the future of the game, one of the bigger changes would be in March of that year, where they made the game landscape. But they didn't just make it landscape, oh no. They also added a second joystick, removed tap to walk, and added an auto aim feature. These may sound like improvements, but at the time, players did not see it that way. They basically had to relearn how to play a game that they had already been playing for close to a year. This update drastically changed how Brawl Stars is played, and many players just weren't on board, and it's easy to understand why. Supercell was criticized for trying to appeal to new players and getting it ready for a global audience, rather than improving it for its existing fan base, and that's what made it controversial. It also didn't help that the community had been waiting months for an update, and this is the update that they got, which is not what they wanted. Personally, I much prefer landscape and the current controls. I guess I am a bit biased because I wasn't always playing during the beta, but yeah, any OG will tell you that Portrait Brawl Stars was pretty dang awesome. Gears and Power Level 11. These two were in the same Season 9 updates, so I'm going to be discussing both of them together. Let's start with the levels. So prior to this update, brawlers could go up to power level 9 by upgrading it. And power level 10 wasn't actually a level 10, your stats didn't increase, you just unlocked it by finding the star power in like a box or something. However, in this update, the star power was no longer level 10. Now you had to upgrade the brawler to level 10, as well as a brand new power level 11. So basically, they added 2 levels to every single brawler in the game. And then gears. Initially, gears had to be crafted and upgraded using gear tokens and scrap, which would have been okay, but the problem was that it was overpriced and made it such a grind. When you combine these overpriced gears with these 2 new power levels, it was overwhelming to say the least. And for the average player, it seemed like catching up was never gonna happen now. Brawl Stars was being compared to Clash Royale, which doesn't happen that often, but when things like this happen, one just can't help to think that the only ones who thought this update was good were the players who always gem everything, and Supercell, who was probably raking in a lot of cash. In October 2022, just about a year after the update, gears would be reworked to be a one-time purchase like how gadgets are. And even though that was an improvement, it still wasn't received well because it caused a gold shortage. Now everyone had to buy their gears and no one had gold to upgrade their brawlers and buy the gears. And those who had money didn't have this issue because they could just buy gold. It's hard to tell what Supercell could have done right. It seems like anything would have been bad in this situation, but yeah, gears have come a long way and they've had a heck of a journey. The Brawl Pass rework. This is one of the more recent controversies and probably not as big of a deal as previous ones on this list, but the fact is that many players were upset by this change. So the Brawl Pass has always costed gems, and that's pretty awesome because throughout the game you can get free gems and you could save those gems until eventually you had enough to buy a Brawl Pass, all while 100% free to play. Unfortunately, after December 2023, buying the pass with gems would no longer be possible, and this is what upset so many. The fact that the pass could no longer be acquired without an in-app purchase. Now, it's important to know that these changes were actually beneficial to free-to-play players. The rewards were better on the free track, and if you were already buying passes and don't care about money, then you have a way better pass now. The controversy was not about progression, it was purely that buying the pass with gems was now a thing of the past. It's easy to understand why many were upset. Gems are available for free from time to time, but if you are true to your free-to-play status, this meant that you could never obtain a pass again on your own. At the end of the day though, it is what it is, and no one seems to be talking about it anymore, especially when the free pass is pretty dang decent. The removal of tap controls. We touched on this earlier a bit, but I didn't go into detail as that wasn't really the topic. But the removal of tap controls was probably more controversial than landscape itself, which for some reason is hilarious. I'll try to keep it short, but basically when Brawl Stars was in beta, you had the option to move by using a joystick or tap to walk. But it's also important to know that even if you had the joystick option selected, aiming was still tap to shoot for both options. There was no button or second joystick for aiming or shooting or any of that. As you can see, Brawl Stars was played entirely different, but the fact that you could choose was very welcomed, as both options tailor to vastly different playstyles and devices. As mentioned before though, with the landscape update, all of these options were wiped from the game, and a second joystick was added for aiming. The community wasn't exactly happy about these changes. One of the main complaints was that joystick aiming was harder than simply tapping what you wanted to shoot, and they were heavily criticized for even the thought of considering an auto-aim feature. But in defense of Supercell, tap to shoot only worked so well because the game was in portrait. I mean, if you play landscape games, especially on larger phones and tablets, having to move one of your hands to tap something in the middle of the screen would be pretty uncomfortable and annoying as hell. Despite the community backlash though, it did eventually die down, of course. I mean, it's 7 years later, we're in 2024, and this argument seems pretty silly now. We're all used to the same controls, and I think the idea was that Supercell wanted us all to be playing the same way. So guys, that wraps it up. Those are my picks for the most controversial updates. I landed on these choices by researching old posts, videos, and just my memory. I was playing a whole lot during these, so some of it is still fresh in my mind. There may be a few more, but nothing as big of a controversy as these. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, have a gaming out. Peace!